Hello and welcome back. So we will be finishing off Cake Craze today. It basically took me the entire event period because I got screwed over by strawberries. But we're here. We're finally up to 10,000 points, and that does mean that we get to claim Mr. Blackberry, which I didn't have before. That's nice. You know, Blackberry's been here a few times, but of course the other prizes from this event, being the divine tickets, were also really nice. So I will go and open up a few more chests now also while we're here, but quickly let's throw that egg into our hatchery. Another new dragon. It's just like we're getting new dragons out of the wazoo at the moment. But we got 95 chests, so let's go and open these now. So I'm probably going to end up grinding the dungeon next week or the week after, depending on what dungeon rotation, because even though I've done quite a bit of grinding this week, you know, this week was kind of cruel with some of the enemy dragons that were coming up. So rather than just speeding through the event week 1 this time, I'm probably going to take this one a little bit more cautious, and we will try and pick a really good dungeon rotation to waste all of our gems in. I mean, we're not that far off, to be honest, for one of the divines. You know, it's only the end of week 1, and we will have the castle event next week, which will be giving more divine tickets, but I've had a lot of people asking, will it be as many divine tickets as what we had this week with the Cake Craze? The answer is possibly, but probably not. We've also managed to finally get our duplicate fairy that we wanted, so let's get fairy. And that means that now the only one that we need is porcelain, which will also, like I said before, be the castle event reward for part 1. And then after that we'll get copper, and then the only other thing really left for us to do is try and get the part 2 castle event dragon, Fjord, and the divines. So of course my main goal is at minimum to get the Freya dragon in this event, so for that we need Freya and we need Longwang. Every time that we don't get, you know, times 10 when we're opening up these chests, it kind of sucks. Every times 1 feels kind of bad. Feels kind of bad, dude. But it's not too bad overall. You know, we got 1 times 50 so far. That's the only times 50 I've had. You want to change that game? No, game does not. But I mean, trying to go for times 50s, there's only a low 1% chance to get it out of every chest you open up. So on average, you're not going to be getting a times 50 very often. But when you do, it will definitely help your total holy talisman count. So at the moment, I'm sitting at 226 chests opened. I think it's a bit more than that because I opened some of the free chests before. So we're probably around about... Oh, my game has broken. Oh, was not expecting this. How am I... There we go. Escape actually worked for once. Wow. You see that? The X didn't come up. Thank goodness for being on PC. I love it. But yes, we're at 233 chests open, which is honestly not that many. And that is primarily due to me not grinding the dungeon too much. But even though I haven't opened up that many chests, we are sitting at 751 pieces, which is obviously more than half of Longwang. So overall, we are on pace to get the 2 main divines and potentially even get Chang, but it will require us to be grinding out the dungeon a lot more than what we did this week. Actually, I think we've got dungeon right now. But essentially, this dungeon's kind of sucky because lots of plant. And the other reason being that, like I've mentioned before, there are a couple of dragons that are really dangerous quite close to the beginning of this run that will basically just completely destroy me. And same for anyone really that's using Wonder Acceptance, which is of course the best combo in game right now. Because any dragon that can either burn out or that can use Void is bad news bears. So whenever you know that those dragons are coming up, it is a good idea to be kind of careful about it. But if you're like me, who's just sort of trying to grind dungeon, sometimes you might not pay attention to when the big bad scary dragon's coming up and then suddenly you're dead. And it's happened too many times this week, And then after that, you've got to go and try and defeat a massive set of plant dragons in a row. So, yes, it's not a nice dungeon week for super grinding. I'm hoping that we might have a fire dungeon week. And when I talk about a specific element in the dungeon, I do genuinely mean that the enemy dragons tend to have a specific element that they have. And like right now, we're sort of with some shadow dragons. So this would be sort of a shadow dragon week, I suppose. And then you might have a new set of dragons that spawn in. We're going to have a couple of legendaries, but then it will go back to a different set of elements. And that's how the dungeon's always been. You know, it's always had a set, well, the new dungeon anyway, a set of elements that sort of spawn in, and you'll have a little set of dragons like those for a little while. So that's how you can sort of play around with the dungeon and try and get more KOs than normal. See, now we've gotten past the legendaries, and so now we've got some different dragons loading in. Well, we're going to have him still alive, but we're going to have these dragons, which again are shadow dragons, and then it's going to start kicking off. So, you know, there are little ways of keeping track of what is due to come up next, but if you only have one main attacking dragon like me, that can still be kind of difficult, because it's like, well, I don't really have much to attack with. So if you don't time it with the correct dragon, you're just gonna you're gonna get decimated, basically. And it's not very pretty when it happens. It's very, very messy when it happens. So ideally I'd love to take out this eagle, but we're not going to be able to, so I'm going to take the chance at taking out the first dragon. But that's a perfume, so we're good there. We're good taking on perfume, but we're not good if we have to take on any zappers. So let's see who comes up. Okay, Hellhound. We're coming close to it now. There we go. There's the first scary one. He's got pay it forward, so, you know, just anything void, anything shadow, anything energy is really scary. That's just a general rule of thumb when you're using Wander Acceptance. It's just very scary. And also you've got to make sure that you've got Mass Blessing on the right dragons, and that you've got Ancient up if you can try and time it. This is Scary Dragon number 2 that has Power of Thunder, so he needs to die. Even though he doesn't have Burnout, I still don't like him. It's not quite as scary as it could be, but he still needs to die just because he has ruined many, many runs in the past. But I think we're okay for a little while, and then it starts to get a bit dicey again. So this is my thought process when I go through the dungeon, even though I have a team that's sort of made for this. At the same time, it's sort of difficult to get quests done, because if you're trying to focus on not dying, you've got to put the focus onto that instead. But, you know, for anyone that's just gotten a dungeon team, or, you know, a lot of people have probably just formulated a dungeon team now, because in the first week of the event, or the first couple of weeks, maybe you can start formulating a team, and then by the end of, say, the second week, maybe the third week, you might have a full dungeon team ready so that you can full grind that final dungeon week. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because, like I've said here, even though I've been sort of grinding the dungeon, I haven't super grinded the dungeon. I did sleep at normal time frames. You know, I didn't go that crazy with grinding and spending all of my gems. But if you do pick a specific week to do that, then really go for it, because it's the cheapest way to get the most tickets is by going through the dungeon. So you do want to be grinding the correct week for you. And the plant one, you know, you could have grinded it if you wanted to, but you might want to pick a different week like me. I don't know what next week's dungeon rotation is going to be like. It could be fire, it could be something monstrous, it could be even worse than this week. But, you know, that's a chance I'm willing to take, because we've got another 3 weeks to go. And I think we can get ourselves a nice, cushy, cozy dungeon week to really just, you know, chill out, enjoy the view, enjoy the decimation of Smaug. No, not that. That's just stuck in my head after this morning. Don't ask. But You know, it's a shame that the quests that we got this time aren't really the quests that I would have liked, because the quests I really like are the perform weak attacks, perform strong attacks. I do like the perform strong attacks quest. And just any that are just perform quests. The defeating dragons with weak attacks is probably one of the worst ones, because, you know, it's a weak attack, so you're not going to be doing a lot of damage. And plus, these dragons that I use, since I've only got really one main attacker, I don't have a lot of elements to choose from. So if we were going to think of the absolute greatest, bestest dungeon team that person could ever possibly put together, what would it actually have in it? What would it look like? I mean, this one's obviously a little bit of a hodgepodge, and it works for the most part. Doesn't mean it couldn't be improved. And the same with lots of things in DML. You might have a team that works. You might have a solid team that gets you through the whole map. It might be decent for dungeon grinding. But there may be a way for you to improve your team. And, you know, getting the super exception Divine Ancients is usually going to be the play for a lot of people. But it does depend, because you want as many unique elements as possible. You do want to be able to completely destroy enemy dragons as well. So, oh goodness, it's the Purity boy. Oh no, he will basically one-shot me. I think we're going to die here anyway, because we're running low. So I'm just going to sort of zoopy-doopy sacrifice myself here. If we'd have put shield up, we probably would have survived maybe one more turn. But, you know, I think we're pretty much close to the end here anyway. And I kind of want to do some other stuff. Let's use a Mass Blessing first though. That'll at least keep these two going for a little bit longer. And then we can get at least one more KO probably. Maybe two more. At least. Get a couple more points. And then we will cancel out on our dungeon run here. But, you know, we come against these dragons at this point. And even if we've got Purity Daredevil, that's how much damage we do. With full HP Purity Daredevil on my Autumn Dragon against this level 146 Gemini Beta, and we do pittance damage. We do nothing to any of these dragons, and that's just how the dungeon goes, because now that it's infinitely scaling, attacks just don't really do anything. When we've got Ancient buff on our dragon, then we can do, like, about a third of their health. But that's with Ancient buff, with Divine buff as well. So, unless you've got Ancient and Divine on your dragon, you're not going to be able to do that much damage. Which is the reason why Wonder Acceptance is so important. Because otherwise, we couldn't even touch these dragons. We're going to die. Because we have poison on us. But, you know, it's a lesson of just how much damage you are going to take and what you're going to do if you don't have Wonder Acceptance on your team. So that's not even going to take me to 2,000 tokens this time. We could have probably, if we were really grinding it out, we could have sat in the lower tier fights a little bit longer. But, you know, I'll probably get one more dungeon run. We'll get one more open of that purple chest, so we might get 12, we might get 18 tickets. We'll see. But, again, my plan is going to be to wait and do it either next week or the week after. So I don't like leaving things until the final week. I don't like leaving things till the last minute in general. So I'm probably not going to leave it until week 4. But I probably will leave it either to week 2 or week 3. So, remember, Holy Talismans, they're going to stay for the whole event. What's not going to stay for the whole event is going to be the tickets for each individual chest. So, any of your Divine tickets, make sure you use them by the end of next week for Chapter 1. Holy Talismans, you do not have to spend them immediately. The Holy Talismans are going to stay with you the whole event, and you can use them on any dragon that's in the Divine Altar at any time. I know I've been through that a couple of times, but people keep asking. These dragons, as far as we're aware, and Gameloft have also said this, they're going to stay here for the whole duration of the event. The only thing that's going to change is that Freya and Frigg are going to be unlocked. Apart from that, Longwang is going to stay, Chang's going to stay, so you don't need to buy them right now. You don't need to use your holy talismans right now. But if I did use my holy talismans, we've got 752, so that would take us to here. That would take us to this milestone, so we'd get some breeding tokens, a couple of gems, a couple of tickets, but nothing too noteworthy. When we do get Greyhorn, I will be unlocking him, but getting 3,400 talismans to unlock Bone is going to be the toughie. Because I don't have Bone. I would love to have Bone. But, again, that's all going to come around when we do our super grind in the dungeon. So, yeah, I did do a couple of gemmers for this one, just to get me up to the higher KO counts, but, you know, I do think it's wise to wait and pick the good week for you to actually go ahead and do the dungeons super grindy then. But, you know, I guess we could keep getting points in the event. I don't see why we would, but we could keep increasing our score, I suppose. I don't see what benefit we would gain. But yes, these strawberries have been painful. But remember with Cake Craze, if you ever get the event again, just re-roll until you get legendary items, like legendary recipe pieces, and the actual donuts and everything. You want those to be legendary. You shouldn't be doing any of them if they're not legendary. So, you know, that's how you do Cake Craze. Let's activate my VIP before it runs out. Nothing annoys me more in DML than when I log in and my VIP has run out, and then I have to go in and do that screen then. But, oh, I almost forgot. We got our fairy, didn't we? There we go. Where is fairy? I did pick the duplicate, didn't I? Yes, I did. Okay, there we go. So, now we're going to have to wait 1 day and 22 hours for fairy. We're going to have to wait a day for the Blackberry. But we've got 1 new dragon, and we will hopefully get copper very soon. Well, we got to play the whole week to get porcelain, but soon enough. So, more new dragons! More new dragons! That's what I like. That's what I like. But anyway, again, it's going to be Monday tomorrow. That's when Castle is coming. So, good luck. I hope that you get everything that you want. And, you know, if you need to, maybe upgrade some of your sigils. Pick the good sigils if you need some dungeon tips. And that, I have said it all before. But Wonder Acceptance is the go-to. But really, you need a water dragon for the dungeon. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of screwed. But anyway, for now, I appreciate you being here. Best of luck in whatever you are trying to get. I hope you get lots of times 50 talismans. And until next time, I do hope I can see you then.